Hello everyone, this is Dr. Ravikishore, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Aditya University. So, learning outcome to learn the exception handlers or keywords in Java exceptions. Okay, just see. Now, I will give you the brief of this particular different exception handlers that is present. Later, we will see the examples in this particular thing. Okay, coming to this try, catch, finally blocks. Try, catch are friends. They cannot leave each other. When you are going to write the try, automatically catch will be invoked or catch will be write automatically. Try means what I told you, code to generate an exception. Catch means it is going to catch the corresponding exception, it is going to give the statements of it. Okay. So, the try block might contain the statements that should not be executed if an exception occurs. And try block is followed by 0 or more catch blocks. That means I can write one try block and I am going to write the catch block and an exception, and I am going to write the statements. So, do you think that in a program, do you think that you are going to get only one error? No, I am expecting more errors, many more errors even. So, for a single try block, I can write multiple catch blocks also. I can write the multiple catch blocks also. That means try, catch, again catch, again catch. In this way, these multiple catch blocks that I can write for a single try block. Okay. So, a catch block is where the handling takes place for the reason is also known as exception handler. A catch block specifies the type of exception. It can catch the contains the exception what exactly the try is going to raise. That's why catch, see the example, catch number format exception space E mean it is an object. E means it is an object. Clear? In this way, this first thing that can be easily maintained. And coming to this corresponding finally, the finally block also need this help of the try block. And any code that contain in the finally block always executes regardless of whether an exception actually occurs. For example, if I am having try and I can write go for that finally. And this particular, if the try block has no catch block, then it must have the finally block. Try catch or try finally, that I can write it. Okay, that is what the relationship between try, catch and finally. Clear? So, in this way, the try and catch blocks are to be maintained. And coming to this particular thing, try, what I told you, I am having the multiple catch blocks. Just see, catch block 1, catch block 2, so on, catch block n. Or I can go with the finally also. So, here you can include a catch block for every possible exception that might have been generated inside the try block. Clear? So, in this way, the multiple catch blocks or this particular finally block is to be executed. So, if there is any no exception is thrown in the try block, all the catch blocks are associated with the try block and they are ignored, the program execution resumes after the last catch block. That means if there is no error, these things won't be reflected at anywhere. and if an exception is thrown in a try block, the remaining statements in the try block are ignored. And the program searches the catch block in the order which are appear for the try blocks and looks for an appropriate exception handlers by examining the parameters for the each catch block in turn. That means always if there is an error, the exception is to be raised. If not, the exceptions are to be discarded. And coming to this, if the type of exception matches the parameters and the type, one of the type of catch blocks code that is to be block executes and the remaining catch blocks are to be catches the block and it is to be ignored. And if the finally blocks are the last catch blocks, the finally block always executes it regardless whether an exception occurred. When the exception occurred, the finally the catch block will be raised. Otherwise, nothing will be happen. It is going to go for the smooth application oriented thing. And this finally block, if you take it in close, the most common use for a finally block is close the resource that were created inside the try block. Recall that there are resources that may take the memory. For example, if you take the file reader or buffer reader or file writer, all the things are taking up the resource from the user itself. And at the time that there may be a chance of they getting the code that may be possible. So, at this particular moment, the try block, if an exception that is to be generated, it can control will never get far at that particular point. So, instead of closing the corresponding resource, the finally block is to be executed. Maximum you are going to write this particular finally block at the time of file input output dot java. That means I am giving the input and I am going to get the output. At the time I am going to use this finally block very regularly. Okay, and coming to the order of catch. So, in heading of this catch blocks, the type of exceptions. So, a catch block can be either be exception of a specific type. What type of exception it is? I already told you, given one example. And here the catch block says what type of it is. Whether it is an arithmetic or whether it is an array index out of bounds, whether it is a number format exception. You need to specify exactly what it is. For example, if you don't know what exactly exception it is, if you don't know the exception name, at the time you can write the thing like this. Catch within the bracket exception E. Here, if you write like this, the compiler automatically generates its own exception. If you are going to specify arithmetic exception mean the statement which is there inside this particular thing will be printed. Clear? So, that is what this particular thing that is to be. And coming to this particular, if you see the order of the catch block, a reference variable of supertype class that can point out an object and its class, and if the heading of the catch blocks that you declared an exception using the class exception that can catch block will catch all the types of exception, because the class exception is the super class of all the exception classes. And the sequence should be in a form of the try after the catch blocks, try after the catch blocks, try after the catch blocks. In this way, these are to be catch hold of. So, at the end of this corresponding topic, student learn the handlers like try, catch and finally in the exception and its uses. Thank you.